If you're setting up a shop where the tools have to keep running day in and day out, you're not just looking for a list of specs, you want something that will sit solid on the floor, stay level when you crank the lever, and actually make the cuts you need without you spending half your day fiddling with adjustments. That's the exact place most woodworkers hesitate when they start hunting for a tiltable mortiser. They've seen the flashy numbers, but they're worried about hidden trade-offs, about whether the machine will fit in the space they have, and whether it will actually pay for itself in the hours it saves. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'll walk through the real-world experience of using the Powermatic tiltable mortiser, point out who will get the most mileage out of it, and flag the scenarios where you might be better off looking elsewhere. First off, let's talk about the kind of work this machine is built for. A tiltable mortiser is essentially a vertical benchtop that lets you make mortises on a piece of wood while the workpiece is clamped to a rotating table. The Powermatic Model 719T comes with a 1-inch chisel, a 1034-inch stroke, and a gas-cylinder-driven rack and pinion lift. In practice, that means you can swing a 1-inch wide mortise up to a little over 10 inches deep, and you do it with a smooth, almost hydraulic feel. For someone who builds cabinets, doors, or any furniture that relies on tight mortise-and joints, the ability to set the table once and repeat the same depth over and over is a huge time saver. What really stands out when you first unload the unit is how grounded it feels. The cast iron column and table give it a heavyweight that you normally only see on larger industrial machines. I set it up in a modest 12x12 workshop, and the footprint just under 4 feet square still left enough room for a small workbench and a couple of saws. The base sits level without any additional shimming, which is a relief because you don't want a mortiser that rocks every time you start a cut. The precision-machined column also means the vertical movement is consistent from the first notch to the last, which is vital when you're trying to keep 10-12-inch mortises uniform across a batch of panels. Now, let's dig into daily usability. One of the biggest pain points on older tilt tables is the need to constantly readjust the feed lever when you switch between materials or change the depth. Powermatic's feed lever has 3 preset positions, and the markings are clearly etched on the lever itself. In practice, I could move from a soft pine board to a dense maple board, shift the lever to the heavy position, and the machine compensated without any jerking. The real win, however, is the quick change chuck door. Because the door is hinged, you can pop the 1-inch chisel out, swap in an inch bit, and lock the door back in place in under 10 seconds. That's a measurable boost when you're cutting dozens of mortises in different sizes. For those who need angled workpieces, say you're mortising a curved cabinet side or a splayed frame, the swivel vice clamp is a practical perk. It lets you tilt the workpiece up to 45 degrees while the table still rotates, letting you cut angled mortises without moving the whole setup to a separate jig. I tried a test where I mortised a 30-degree angled back panel, and the clamp held firm without any wobble. The result was a clean, square-shouldered mortise that matched the angle perfectly, which would have taken a separate CNC setup or a lot of manual jiggery-pokery otherwise. But no machine is without its trade-offs. The first is the power requirement. This model is 115-230V single-phase, so you need a dedicated 20-amp circuit if you plan to run it at full capacity. In a typical home garage that already has a dryer and a few power tools sharing the same breaker, you might find yourself tripping the circuit before you even get to the first cut. Upgrading the wiring is an extra cost that isn't listed in the Amazon spec sheet, and it's something you need to factor into your budget. Another practical limitation is the fixed 1-inch chisel size. While that width covers a large swath of cabinet work, it does mean you'll need a separate mortiser or a different tool if you regularly make narrower mortises, say inch or inch. The hinged chuck makes changing bits easy, but you still have to purchase those bits separately, and they can add up if you're a hobbyist who likes to experiment with a lot of joint sizes. Who should buy this? If you're a professional carpenter, a small shop owner, or a serious hobbyist who puts together a steady stream of doors, drawers, and custom furniture, the Powermatic Tiltable offers a solid return on investment. The repeatability of the adjustable workstop means you can set one depth, lock it, and run an entire series of identical mortises without remeasuring each time. That translates directly into labor.